ended up number 5, right?
Yeah, it was 4, but it's called top 5.
Okay, João, first question to you. Big wave surfing is different from surfing in conditions like here on Ginchel Beach, obviously. What is going through your head when you dropped into your first big wave when you started it?
I think what connects us all is this moment of a lot of concentration. So you're very focused in a very simple task, I guess, ultimately in big waves, which is, you're just kind of holding your line. And so you're just trying to be as spontaneous as you possibly can in that moment. So it's just very, very focused. You're very present in that moment. And a lot of times if you're distracted or if you have a conscious thought, you normally lose your balance.
How was that for you, Andrew?
Yeah, I think João sort of hit the nail on the head. Really, it's what you guys are going to be doing tomorrow. Which Ginchel Beach is basically what we do in big waves. What you need to do is stand up and hold your line. But so you can do that. For me, it kind of sounded like surfing at home in the UK. 1 to 2 feet. That was a big wave for me. But you'll find out once you're in that position, everything naturally, human instinct wants you to get out of the way of danger, and you got to try and just sit there and put yourself in the way of danger, and that's paddling into that wave. So that's just those thoughts and sort of being 100% present and just literally paddling and standing up. It's as easy as that.
How hard?
But yeah, how hard. It sounds so easy, but it's an interesting thing to get your head around.
I mean, where you grew up in the UK, it's not really famous for big waves. So you're kind of an outsider because you didn't grow up in a place where you have those big waves. Was that outsider status, in some way an advantage for you?
I don't know. For me, it was never been about big waves. It was always about surfing. It was my passion, and I love surfing. I didn't really know that Europe had big waves. So I always thought you'd have to travel to Hawaii or to Australia or the States. And so that was just like a thought process. And I just, I wanted to be good at small wave surfing, but I wasn't. And I just naturally sort of did what I loved, which was surfing big waves. And then you realise that Europe's amazing, and we had so much to offer on our doorstep, which I think we were too quick as surfers to look at what other people had and wanted to do what they wanted to do, and not realise actually we got some amazing waves, here in Portugal, but also Spain, France, Ireland, So living in the UK, I was kind of in the middle of that, although it wasn't my local beach. I was in a great spot to enjoy all of those.
I see. Okay. Alex, which are your surfing heroes, and how do you engage
heroes?
with? Yes.
João and some of my surfing heroes, I guess. One of my heroes is Tom Carroll. He's for various reasons, but and then obviously people like Kelly Slater and those kind of people. Yeah.
Did you have a chance to meet them yet? I mean,
as the
main community, surfing community is
they're
also
not good mates,
small,
but I've met them. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Nice.
Okay, so how many people did you teach surfing yet? Do you have any clue?
No idea.
Must be in the thousands.
Yeah, thousands and thousands. But the main thing is just to try and keep people safe and let them have fun. Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Maybe you give our audience an idea what we do tomorrow.
Basically going to have a small safety talk on the beach, and then basically after a short amount of time with the instructors go in the water and learn to surf. It's not. Yeah.
No rocket science.
We're going to give you big boards, so it's going to make it a bit easier for you, and some good instructors. Yeah. So.
There also will be some wipeouts tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure there will be not as bad as a wipeout as Andrew saw it last year.
Yeah, well, I think
Maybe we can play a little video to give our audience an idea what it was wipeout of a year. I
No,
think.
then you'll feel really good. No matter how bad it will be
Yeah,
tomorrow,
yeah.
it will not be what Andrew had to live through. Gosh.
But yeah, I think with the wiping out, this isn't actually it. This is one of my first times I ever drove a jet ski. This is an island.
No.
And I actually had been watching videos of a guy called Laird Hamilton on the internet. I think this was like 2000 and the previous video was like 2007 or something. But this is the one from last year. And this is in Nazareth, so you won't be doing this tomorrow, but you'll be doing this on Sunday. We've organised it. Me and João are going to help you out.
We've ordered a swell.
Yeah, ordered a swell. So, and I think things like this is that when you're dealing with Mother Nature, you can't predict. It's just you got to flow with the energy, and it is what it is. And what from reading the wave for me was going to be one of the best waves of my life. It can change very quickly. But you kind of just have to roll with it and enjoy, the rough with the smooth. And for me, this is a really painful situation, but it wasn't anything that put me off surfing. I broke my back. I ruptured or did a compression fracture in my L2. Which meant obviously a lot of time out of the water, a lot of rehab, but it's just part and parcel of it, and João will be the same. You're constantly. We've just been talking about this literally 5 minutes ago about what we put our bodies through, and as surfers you don't expect that, but the reality is that every time you go surfing a big wave, it's like the impact,
the contact,
and the contact. It's just part and parcel of it.
You're going really fast. The images don't really give justice to how fast he was going on that wave.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the impact be so violent.
So what's going on in your head when you see it's too late? Shit.
I don't know.
Relax.
Yeah. I don't know, like how you deal with it, João, but I've got like a really good ability to think about nothing. And I think it's the key. It's the key to sometimes when the shit's going really wrong. Like you can, when you attach to those thoughts of like what the worst scenario, or you can spiral into a place where it can put you actually in a worse place. So having the ability to think and do nothing is
so you're still conscious, but you're aware of an opportunity to get out of a situation, but because you're holding your breath. I think that's probably what makes us have to relax. And if any of you have held your breath for more than a minute or two, you immediately notice if you're relaxed, you can really go for the 2 minutes. If you're not, if you have anxiety, you're thinking about something, whatever
stress,
it is, some conscious thought, it immediately increases your oxygen consumption. And for us, I know Søren was it was one of the themes we wanted to touch on, but breathing is something that for big wave surfing, it's actually a really interesting thing because the absence of it makes us so grateful of it, and then allows us to really, kind of share this thing, which is universal to everyone. Everyone breathes, right? We all breathe, and that's something that follows our whole life. But I think it does help you to come to a place of when you hold your breath, and then you start developing how long you can hold your breath, and exactly what Andrew was saying about when you want to really hold your breath or just be very relaxed, you cannot have many thoughts. They can come, but then you have to kind of like
I always think about pizza. That's my, I just think about pizza whenever there's a big wave. It makes me relax. I don't know why. Just when you're underwater.
I think
right. Some
so
people
whatever does it. Whatever does
it.
Yeah. Everyone will have their everyone has their thing. Yeah.
But it's actually a good point what we are talking about right now, like failures and mistakes. I mean, it also happens in our industry when you buy a domain too expensive, or sell it too cheap, So there's a lot of like trial and errors, obviously, And we talked a little bit about it. You crashed Andrew Rosner's party 2 days ago in Lisbon. One of the guys
No, I
from
was invited.
our industry. Yes. So what I'm trying to say is you have some idea about our audience and what we are doing here.
Yes.
So how would you relate what you learned from failure and mistakes in your profession, comparing it with our domain industry?
I mean, I think it was really interesting listening to how Andrew mentioned that, he had a really almost debilitating accident, and he never for a second thought about not surfing again, so not getting back into business kind of or keep connected to his passion. So yeah, sometimes it is tricky when your passion is your job, and I think all of us, know that. But we all commit mistakes, and in surfing, it's paddling for the wrong wave. Or your positioning is not on like a Nazare. Like if we're too much on the inside when we're trying to paddle into big waves, and there are different days and different situations, but that can mean that you get a giant wave on your head. So you're hit by the wave before you even caught it. And sometimes these things happen before you've even caught a wave. And you just can't doubt yourself. And I think that's one of the big lessons that I've felt that is hard to actually implement, because it's easy, again, kind of using that language Andrew was using of a spiral. You can really get into a negative spiral of self-doubt, and you're like, oh, here I go again, I'm risking too much, I'm coming too inside, or why did I paddle for this wave? It was too steep, it was a closeout, why did I, so there's a lot of thoughts that you have that are technical about whatever's happening on that day, and if you feed into that, and the fact you forget that mistakes are what actually helps you progress, and because you're risking or taking more risks, or you're going for bigger waves, or you're trying waves that were considered impossible, it's normal that you're going to have to fall before you actually progress and achieve successful rides.
Yes. Alex,
Yep.
You're actually a successful entrepreneur now. People will see it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like this, being a surfer, even a professional surfer before, like this idea of mindfulness and relaxation, how do you think it helped you to build your business?
I wasn't really a professional surfer, but just being I don't know how the surfing helped me build a business.
Yes.
I don't know. Of course, what João said, when you have a passion and you love what you're doing, that's really helps. But at some points, yeah, you have to kind of divide it or try to, because it just gets too much. But at the same time, I always think about when I first came to Portugal, working in Lisbon, sitting in a traffic jam and doing other jobs and working for someone else for hours and hours.
No.
So yeah, that always, when I have a bad day, I think about people in London, maybe on the underground or something, going to work, artificial light all day, sitting down, having someone they don't like tell them what to do. So yeah, those kind of things motivate me just to keep going, to do what I love. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Andrew, you had a lot of jobs before. That's what I read. So actually, one of the jobs you had was maybe important for your surfer career because you had to deal with water. Where you worked as a plumber.
As a plumber, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that actually it was really important. Like all those things are really important, and I think it comes back to working with a passion and how you implement that. And it was working as a plumber that sort of really, like around you, like people looking in on that were like, okay, right, it's a career, it's good money, it's a steady income. You probably get your house, your kids, your stability from that. But when you're not passionate about fitting toilets or underfloor heating, like it's that just like doing that for a couple of years, thinking, shit, I'm not going to do this till I'm 60, there's no way, and that inspires you it motivated me to sort of really make surfing happen and work and take every opportunity. And I see every swell and every wave as an opportunity to sort of, live a dream or work within a passion. And it doesn't, have to be always catching the biggest wave. It's, being in that team or amongst it, or even, like tomorrow, like, helping people sort of sharing our passion, you know, like helping people experience the sea and you know what I experience, how surfing's changed my life, you know. So just being able to do that with other people is you know,
cool.
It's great.
This passion needs to get funded in one way or another. So you're wearing a Red Bull cap right now. So my question is like, how much time do you spend like with sponsors, gaining new sponsors, doing things for sponsors? It's an important thing, I assume, for both
critical.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's critical, you know, and it's you know, it's work at the end of the day, you know, like, and it might be whether you enjoy it or not. Like, I think it's work and working with sponsors and brands, but to create content and video and ideas and projects,
Instagram,
you know. But it's all business, you know. Like, and at the end of the day, it's all going to help me achieve my dream and goal, which is, you know, to ride the biggest waves and just experience, you know, those moments.
I see. For you, João?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's kind of what Alex was saying. I mean, within the line of work, I mean, we're clearly blessed. But if you take it too lightly and you think that those commitments aren't important, or, because it's surfing, you can, you know, you can be a little more flaky, then, you know, you're not considered a reliable professional, and those things become known, and then people can't count on you. So there's something to be said about, you know, your ability to people to count on you. There was, I mean, with actual surfing and performance, and I think that's always a tricky thing, because some days are, you know, they're the big days, and sometimes you might not feel it's right. And there's, you know, we all have our stories about it just didn't feel right. And then, you know, on the one hand, sometimes you overcome that and you're able to make it happen. And other days, it's actually very wise to just, you know, hear that inner voice, and it's difficult to discern what the inner voice is, if it's fear kind of just saying its thing, or, you know, yes, the winds might not be good, but there's been amazing performances when the winds are bad, or, you know, so it's just an interesting thing to you know, to be professional when there aren't many rules. So you have to be really disciplined, and in a way that, because you have so much freedom, that then you're actually able to achieve things.
Creating content, social media, Instagram, you mentioned, is important for all three of you, I think, as part of your work. Alex, how much time do you spend with that?
all day.
All day?
No, I'm just no, but a lot, quite a lot, actually. Yeah, quite a lot. Yeah,
a couple of hours, I would say.
Yeah, even more sometimes. Yeah, and when I'm just bored on the sofa or something in the evening, sometimes a bit too excessive, but I don't know. There's certain rules that you're meant to follow, but I just do what I feel. Yeah. I know Andrew's always on it.
I know. I think it's a tool. I think, and it's changing. You know, for me as a kid, it was always about like the monthly surf mag. You know, and that was the only way that I could get my fix of surfing and see what's going on. But now that, like, it's instant and it's accessible, and so I think it pushes the sport and progression, not just like online, but in the water as well, because like I can see what someone did in Hawaii on the last swell instantly. You know, I don't have to wait 3 months for it to come out in a magazine, or for the next video to release.
Or no one saw it.
It's like instant. And that inspires me to go out at Nazare the next day and go harder, you know, which I think is really great. And you can share it, and you can tag your sponsors, and you can create individual content for your sponsors or for brands, and you know, and that's, again, like João said, that's what being professional. You know, it's not spending too much online; it's actually turning it into a job.
Yes,
you know?
You're building a personal brand. How important is website and domain for you? Like, do you? I think you have a personal website, right?
Yeah. Again, like at first I didn't take it too seriously, and I was thinking, I didn't have a website for ages, and it was getting to the point where I'd always push people towards my social channels, and then it was like become apparent that actually like sort it out. You know, you need that professional presence. You know, your website needs to be good. It needs to have, you know, what you do, what's available, and like you say, build your brand.
Yeah.
And your website is that first landing page. Yeah, they will check out your social channels, but at the end of the day, they go to your website.
They go to your website, right?
Yeah.
Did you build the website yourself, or did you use some website builder, or do you have someone building it for you and feeding it?
At first, I did like just a real basic one that I built myself, and then you're like, after a bit, you're like, shit, I've got to sort this out. Like, maybe this isn't the best image that I want to be, you know. So then I've got the professionals to do it. But you know, again, it's time and time and money. You know, like at the beginning when you're sort of like, you know, you don't always have the cash, and you invest so much into yourself and into your surfing that you sometimes don't have the money and time to invest in those other things. And it's like, okay, right. When I have, and I will, and I did, you know, like, and I think it's just, you know.
Okay, João, the big wave season is in the winter time, October to March.
In the Northern Hemisphere,
In the Northern Hemisphere. What do you do now during the summertime here?
Well, I work at my surf school, which I've owned for many years, and kind of like Alex, it's something that was to kind of finance my campaigns in big waves, and so summer normally is dedicated to that. It's you know, I've been trying over the years to travel a little bit more in the summer, because in the summer, Southern Hemisphere, there's amazing big waves. But it does boil down to a bit of a budget thing, and some of these locations are remote, and from Tahiti to Fiji, you know, even to Australia, to Western Australia and those places. So, but yeah, it's a time to just feel good that my office is on the beach also, and sometimes, you know, you get into these projects and you have friends who you meet on the road who can help you, you know, with your website or stuff. So you work those things in the summer.
And I suppose it's like for you again with your business, it's in your passion. So it's like it's not like you're working. Like when you work, like.
No, I mean, I guess in surf schools, the tricky thing is that when you're many times at a wave that is good for a beginner is not normally a wave where we would like to be. Yeah. So where the classes are going down, and sometimes those days, I mean, it's better. That's what I always tell myself. Kind of, I have an own personal mantra that sometimes you feel you're at the wrong place. But I think, and I was kind of thinking about this. This is also a little bit connected to the flip side of social media, is that sometimes you're not grateful with wherever you are, because you're thinking of, you know, your buddy who's in Tahiti, or you know, your other friend who's in Australia, whatever is going on, or
totally.
You know, some guy caught this random swell somewhere else, and then you're actually you're at your home beach, everything's great, everyone's happy, and you're feeling miserable, and it's like, this is not right. And so I think it's a little bit, you have to use the way that you use social media is definitely, and especially with kids, you really notice that sometimes they're a bit unhappy, and they shouldn't be, because they're always comparing themselves to others. Kind of what you were saying about us being in Europe and not looking at our own backyard, how amazing it is, and just thinking about what everyone else is doing.
By the way,
nice.
Actually, you know what? The first time I was standing on a surfboard was in Tahiti. It's true.
Good memory. There you go. Keep that one.
Chope.
What's your favorite place in the world to surf?
I think, I mean, me personally, I you know, my home beach is obviously, so you have a couple of favorites. Indonesia, for me, as growing up, was a dream come true to see that waves that perfect exist and are out there. But California was a really important place for me too, and just a lot of the surf culture there too influenced me a lot. And Australia also, kind of with the surf culture and the quality of the waves there. And obviously
and the lifestyle which comes along.
I think that's important, and more I appreciate that side of things too. And I think so you have individual waves that you remember from a certain location, but your home beach can be one of the most impactful waves you've ever caught. And then
I suppose it shapes you as a surfer and a person.
It definitely shapes you,
motivates you. Even might not be the place with the best waves, but
Yeah, I mean, I know that Praia Grande, and there's a couple of other of us Portuguese guys that come from there, and it's just a really powerful beach break. So it molds you, exactly what you're saying. So it shapes you, and because it's a beach break, this is something, the beach breaks, they close out more, so they don't hold as much swell. Nazaré is a bit of a freak, and Puerto Escondido, some other. They have different things going on underwater with the underwater canyons and that, but so if you're used to staying a lot of time underwater and closeouts, so it just molds you to have that resilience, and you're used to that amount of power, and you're okay with the turmoil and being underwater, and then you actually, again, you adapt, and you learn to, if you're able to enjoy that side of things and still understand, hey, I'm still at the beach, okay, it's closing out. It's not a long wave, but I'm still surfing, so I'm still catching waves. And then you immediately get out of that kind of, honestly, pretty lame. I sometimes guys, and I know so many friends, and all of us go through that, the surf sucks today. And it's like, you lost the plot, it's like, go get in a traffic jam then, go see how better that is.
It also, it's really nice to just get up from your house and drive 10 minutes and go. That's something that's super nice, because we're always talking about traveling and stuff. And one of the things that I don't really, you like traveling, but you don't like traveling. It's just so nice just to get out, go down the road, have a surf, and go home again. That's.
How's it for you coming from the UK?
I live really close to the beach, and again, it's like we don't get big waves, but I'm a product of my environment, and the beach break that I grew up on is a heavy beach break. It closes out a lot, and for UK it picks up probably the most swell, and was the platform and the foundation for my passion. So and like you say, it's amazing just to jump in the car, drive 5 minutes to the beach, it's all there,
It's all there.
And I'm sort of going. I've got two young kids now.
With family, I was going to say. It's just,
just doing that with my kids now, it's like it's sort of relighting that fire. Because I think you go for a period of that thing, like home sucks. I want to just be everywhere else. I don't want to be there because it's not. And I'm going through that thing now where I really kind of England's actually all right. Going through that and taking my kids surfing and visiting those memories.
Yeah, Andrew, you were observed this morning in the gym already. So my question to you is, as a professional surfer, do you follow a daily routine?
Yeah, for sure. I think I've always been really into my training and my fitness, and I think I do that regardless of, my profession. I think the outdoors, although this morning I was in the gym, but being fit and healthy is something that I love doing. I've been really fortunate with injuries, and obviously breaking my back, and then I've suffered a knee injury. But I've had to learn to really enjoy the really horrible, boring bits of training. But it's those horrible, boring bits that you don't want to do that actually will benefit me in 6 months' time. So it's sort of I'm trying to reprogram myself just to get up and do the stuff that I don't want to do, which is the little squats and the the things that I call it the broccoli of training.
Broccoli,
the stuff you don't want to touch, but it's good for you.
It's really good for you.
Yeah. And João, you are interested in martial arts, I learned.
Yeah, it came on. Søren was saying I crashed your party, Drew. Come on. I got an invitation to come. How did that happen? Right. See? Yeah, martial arts was a recent thing that kind of came into my life and into my training. And I think as surfers, because we're so blessed with having this very spontaneous, very free environment, that it's kind of what Andrew's saying about being in the gym is not our first option. It just isn't. But then, as a professional, you understand how important it is, how it reduces your injuries, how it gets you stronger, it helps your performance, all those things, you understand, and then you have to, be part of it to keep improving. And martial arts kind of came a little bit in that way. It's actually a guy here, he has his dojo here in Cascais, Dramatic Cascais. This guy called Nuno Neves. He's this Portuguese Muay Thai champion, and he teaches teaches not only, there's a lot of mindset stuff. So in fighting, I guess you learn a little bit more about the competitive environment, and so since I'm in this contest in Nazaré, it's helped me, because sometimes a lot of the guys, the Hawaiians, come up and they're your heroes, they're people who you look up to, but in that moment, if you're in the water with them, you're trying to do your best and compete in an ethical way, but at the same time not be intimidated by their status, by their names, and you want to show that you've been training and you belong there, and that is not immediate. That doesn't come without effort, and if you just think that it's going to magically appear and you don't prepare for that, when crunch time comes, you're going to feel it, and you're normally going to feel pretty squashed by the pressure.
Give us an idea what's happening in Nazaré, like when does it start, how many surfers are there, like the whole atmosphere building up to this contest.
It's become, Nazaré, and that was it. Andrew was part of a very core pioneering team that attacked Nazaré, and I talked to Hugo and to Garrett, and and there were just these wonderful days that they had these experiences out there that was just magical, because they were just focusing on the waves. I imagine, because when you pioneer places like that, you're just really focused on the waves, and the crowd or other jet skis or this or the other doesn't even factor in. You're hoping more jet skis show up, because it's also help. But in a contest, it's just, it's what I've really learned is to transform that natural pressure of a presentation or a contest, a big surf contest, into something that you understand that it's just not a normal day. So a day that there's a giant swell, or a day that the contest came around, your body reacts, and sometimes you kind of feel sick, or and a lot of guys, you get a fever the night before. I think it's just that pressure, that anxiety takes over a little bit of your body, and what I've been kind of taught and thought a lot about is that if you're able to understand that and channel it into something that then it's like, wow, this is a really special day. I'm part of this. I already did all the prep, so I can't do any more squats that morning. It's not going to help me to perform any better. It's more about just really enjoying it. And it's a cliche, if you have fun, you can perform better. But it's a cliche that means a lot, and it's really difficult when you put a lot of pressure and you think of sponsors and people who invested in you, this and the other, and then you're supposed to have fun. It's like you've just extracted all the fun out of it, and how do you work the other way around to keep it fun is something that you have to consciously work on to then do it spontaneously. So it's an interesting way that we need to kind of get our mind into.
Isn't it like this, that you sometimes really have to wait for days until it gets started? Like how's it happening? Like, when do you know that, is it next day it's starting, or how much in advance do you know it's starting?
The forecast, normally you have a 5-day forecast, so the contest ends up doing a lot of the forecasting for you, but you're following it, and so at 5 days there's there's a light system, so it's red light, it passes to yellow light, and then normally 48 hours to 72 hours it goes from orange to green or back to red. And so then you have, normally if you're traveling, so for us it's great because we're close, but if you're traveling to Hawaii, you have to take off as soon as it turns green. So sometimes you're waiting until maybe 2 a.m. because of the time difference or whatever, to know if it's going to turn green, and then you jump on a plane and you go.
Okay.
And so, that's, I think that's when you feel most anxiety. Once you're in the water, you're like, gosh, I made it, I'm here.
I think, the lead up to the contest or swells, because we're reacting to, it's I think it's kind of unique sort of sport, reacting to the weather.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like you get a fixture program and you go, right, okay, I can plan my whole year now. It's like everything's last minute and you're reacting to weather, you know. So you know, as an athlete, your training's very different to people to guys that train to a fixture list. And you know, and the nerves, a lot of the nerves are related to like, is it on, is it not? Where should I go to here? Should I go to there? You know, like all these options, you know. Okay,
so people flying from Hawaii, film crews are flying in, the guys with the jet skis arrive. Like how big of organization or team is it basically in Nazare?
Yeah, it's you know, like there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle to put together, you know, like it's you know, there's a lot of different teams and you know, but when it all works and you have, you know, all your logistics down, and it is logistics, you know, like making sure you have the jet skis, they're serviced, they're good, running well, you have people to drive them correctly, you know, that can drive, and maybe a filmer or someone to on a radio on the cliff for safety, and you know, it is a team effort. And you know, sometimes I feel that as a surfer and a jet ski driver, you know, and you know, safety driver, whatever, you know, my role is that you're just a small part of it, you know, and you need all the cogs to keep going, you know. Yeah. And I think that's why like big wave surfing is quite unique in that. Is that it is, even though surfing is quite a very selfish sport, as in like, you know, you're on your surfboard and you're catching your wave, and you know, like it's very like and so it's, you know, it is a very, you know, team effort. Big wave surfing is a very team effort.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a huge contribution to surfing as a whole, is how big wave surfing really and towing in, really, you really appreciate that, because you know, your safety or the guy who's actually helping you choose a wave, it's and for exploration and new waves, I mean, the jet ski is an amazing tool, and it's difficult to learn how to manage it as a tool, because it's different from surfing, and you know, they're expensive, so the investment, so it just brings on this whole new level of commitment and dedication to put those two together as a mechanical element into surfing, and not get overwhelmed with the power that it gives you, and at the same time, just kind of keep progressing.
I think another important thing was that you said, like, when the contest is going to be is important. Like, they're always waiting for the green light, but I think I may be wrong, but like somewhere like Nazare, there's so many local people who do well out of the tourists coming to watch the event. So if that green light, if that kind of comes on over a weekend, I think it's quite important as well. It makes a big difference to people coming and viewing the sport, and so
you can't, like, when the contest is on in Nazare, you can't get a hotel or Airbnb in a town, you know, like
if it's a weekend, it's even, you know, it helps a lot.
And I think like also like Red Bull, you know, coming in with bigger and bigger teams also helps to make it more popular in general.
I think, you know, like the brands and stuff just help to push it out, you know, and you know, so a lot like Red Bull, for example, is a great platform to show content. You know, they have a good reach. So if you're doing, you know, content, if you're involved in content with them, you know, like it's good to get your personal brand out there, you know, and that's what we're all trying to do at the end of the day. Like, you work with a brand, but you're also trying to work on your brand as well.
No, I think the Nazare harbor has really changed the dynamic, you know, since those days, and that there was just one warehouse, and now it's a little bit like, you get a little bit of that touch of like, kind of like Formula One boxes, and you know, the teams each team has their own kind of like box, and I think, you know, one question sometimes comes, you know, there is this competitive element, you know, and people want to catch a bigger wave, but I think the safety element, and because there is danger, I think it does help, you know, us all check in also and be worried about our colleagues, and you know, there are every season that opens, you know, there are concerns and meetings with all the surfers, and saying, you know, if something goes down, all the surfing shuts down, we have to immediately, you know, be obliged to find a body or find, you know, missing surfer. And so those things, I think, keep us in check too, because sometimes instinctively, you can kind of just be so focused on catching a wave, and if someone cuts you off or something like that, then I think it's easy to kind of, miss the bigger picture.
I mean, this teamwork aspect, I never thought about it like this, but this jet ski driver most likely saved your life.
Yeah.
It requires like a very good teamwork actually
total
in
trust.
situations like that. Yeah.
Driving the ski is like, it can be one of the most hardest and most pressurized sort of jobs, really. Like you're getting the surf of the wave, but also, like you say, you're saving him. And sometimes, like the surfing bit is sometimes the easiest bit.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Because it's a big machine, so if you miss it, I mean, you can even hurt your surfer. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, or if you flip and lose the jet ski, then the whole session is over. So your mistakes are there's a lot of pressure not to commit mistakes there.
There's a lot of learnings for us here for the domain industry from the surfing industry. Let's take some questions from the audience, maybe.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just curious. I live in Puerto Rico. Have you guys ever done any tournaments in your phone or something like that, or any memories there?
I have a very good friend, Scuden. Spends a lot of time there. And Tres Palmas, I think there's a big wave there that breaks out there. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's nice. Good job getting out there.
If the season is right for these big waves, all that, is the one every few minutes, or is it just a few really big waves per day?
So it's like the waves that we ride are obviously formed by storms in the Atlantic, and you get like a pulse of swell, and it will it's like energy basically. So the energy slowly rises and then slowly comes down, and you have a peak during the day. So you'll have like sometimes the peak can last a few hours of like the biggest waves. But there will be a period of time where it's getting bigger. It peaks for an hour, then it gets smaller again. So swells, you can some days you can be surfing, like 4 or 5 hours. It'll be, depends on the size of the storm. Everyone's different,
Yeah, Magic Seaweed, the British forecasting website, they were trying to pinpoint, when could the biggest wave come in the day, and I think it's a very tricky thing because of the interaction with the local bathymetry.
The wind.
So the swell is the same, right? So the same swell hits the coast, but some places, and that's part of the natural phenomena of a giant wave, is why is a place here, like Nazaré, for example, has, these 80-foot, 70-foot, 60-foot waves, and just the beach right next to it is small, and the waves aren't that big. And so that interaction of how this same storm hits the coastline is something that ends up being really hard to pinpoint. So, but they're getting, there's more and more forecasting. I think, the hours, the peak of the swell, how fast the swells travel across the ocean. So there's a really big numerical aspect to it, but I think there's still a lot of mystery with how it engages with the local, local coastline, and how it ends up finishing. So, it always boils down. You do have to trust your instincts and expect a bit the unexpected and go off that.
But if it is peak time, there's a whole series of these big waves coming, or just a few?
It will be like the swell is like usually in sets, so you'll get sets of like 5 or 6 big waves every 10 minutes, say. And usually,
which can vary a lot. So sometimes it's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And one wave comes. But for the last 2 hours, it's been exactly what Andrew was saying.
Yeah.
It had been every 10, and 5 or 6 waves were coming. And then, I wouldn't call it a rogue wave, although it's kind of like a bit of a mediatic wave. But sometimes there is a wave in the day that is bigger than all the others.
Yeah.
And, and that's why I think ultimately, and a lot of the jockeying doesn't make sense, because it kind of wave in some shape or form. I believe in that, that it kind of comes your way.
Yeah.
Also, and it just, if you're just kind of like, we're talking about the energy. So if you're attracting that energy, then there's a way that I mean, I don't think anyone actually has full-on conscious control over that. I mean, that would be amazing.
No.
You could just telepathically attract the,
No.
the
But
right
you-
wave, but
You get times like with some swells just go, and I think this goes back to like trying to recover. Like some swells just go, nothing clicks, you know, and you miss all the waves, and you know, and other times it just you flow, and once you get in the like sometimes you get in a rhythm, and it's like I think every surfer can experience this, and you can take this to like business or whatever, but like. You get in a flow and everything. You can't do anything wrong. Like you know, you're in the
pretty
spot.
invincible,
You're in
yeah.
the spot. You and your team are in the spot on every wave, every set wave, and then you know the biggest wave of the day comes and you're in the position for that. You know, and that's just flow. Your energy's good. Your team's good, and you're connecting also with Mother Nature. You know, and you get in that zone. And it happens maybe once in a blue moon, once a year. You know, it doesn't happen all the time. You know, like it's knowing. Getting in that flow
because
and
those
recognizing it.
numbers aren't always the same, so it's not something that you can just.
It's not constant.
It's not constant, so it's just something that you have to believe. Sometimes you need to wait, you know, a long time for the right wave.
I apologize if you addressed this already, but how often, if you've been green lake, you have perfect conditions, big waves, will sharks keep you out of the water?
Sharks? No. No. I mean, one thing is if you're in the water and there's a shark sighting, or, you know, a friend next to you is bitten, you know. But besides that, I mean, because they're there.
If there's a sighting, do you?
Well, I mean,
log it
if there's a sighting in the exact moment that we're there, yes, that would maybe make us go in, you know, see if it's still there. Here in Portugal, there's no sharks. In California, you feel their presence sometimes. It's true.
Is it something I never think about it ever. It's not a thing that comes into my.
In Croydon, you don't
I've thought
think
of
about
it. I mean, I've
No, but
seen
even
this.
like West Oz
Right.
or in Hawaii or Mavericks, you know.
You just think about pizza. you know.
It's not something I think about.
Also, the color of the water, like South Africa is somewhere I thought about it quite a lot, like in Jeffreys
No,
Bay.
if you start
'Cause if it's
thinking about
murky
it,
water
you-
and
you
think
can't
about it, you
surf.
can't see below you.
Yeah,
Feel
you can't surf.
yeah.
So, I mean, I remember once in California, like, I saw a seal getting attacked by something. And so, I mean, then it's pretty difficult to get it out of your mind that there's a shark there. So you normally, I mean, but at that stage, you're not really surfing. So if you think too much about it, but, you know, when you're paddling out or in pauses, but what's normally known is that you don't see the attack. You're attacked. You know, they're way more.
That's a nice surprise. Yeah.
There's the element of surprise. They know that very, very well. That helps.
There's more questions.
Just one thing, they say you should hit the shark on the nose. Just
No, fight back.
Yeah,
No, that
fight
is
it,
true.
fight,
No,
yeah.
you got to fight back.
something difficult to do when you, well, yeah.
Don't surrender. Don't surrender.
The gentleman shouldn't ask, but how old are you guys, and what is the peak age for your sport, and when do you got to hang it up?
27.
No, I'm 40s. I don't know about you, Carly.
I'm 39. I don't know, like, it's something that gets brought up quite a lot. And I think big wave surfing, like previously, I think the age for guys peaking has been a lot later than most sports.
Some old man strength going on there?
Yeah, I don't know whether it just
Experience counts.
experience counts, and as long as you keep fit and you're relatively, you know, on it with that, and I think surfing generally does. You know, like I think you guys will find out tomorrow, like just paddling a surfboard, like the core strength and you know the whole body is a whole body workout. I think you can go well into your 50s. You know.
Yancy, you still have a chance for your second
Yeah.
career.
No, it's never too late.
That's
It's fine.
right.
Just move away from Prague, come here.
So my question is, you haven't talked about judging. So does judging come into, as a professional surfer? Is it either frustrating, or is it an element, or just you have the self-knowledge that you have succeeded, and regardless of what the score may be? So how does that, come into your?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. I think we'll both have interesting perspectives on this, but my personal one is, sometimes judging is not, the way it's built, it's always going to be subjective. So it's because it's not whoever, there's a famous pro surfer, Marco Calupo, that his mom thought whoever got to the beach first would win. But in surfing, that's not it. It's what you do on the wave that actually counts. And so that subjective nature of you're being evaluated by your moves, it's not like ice skating, I guess, but a lot of the influence, if you catch a kind of a smaller wave or a wave that is not as dramatic, that will influence your score. So basically, from 0 to 10 is the score, but there's a lot in each number that comes out. There's a lot more. And so the judges, have preferences and things like that, and they're influenced by news, and, they know this and they say this openly. And so I think because I coach young kids too, and I think eventually you'll be in the judges' favor. So, even if you have a bad call one day or you didn't get the score that you needed or whatever it was, and it might be unfair and you have it filmed and so you're right, but sooner or later, the system will, there's faith in that and that it will turn around too, and that, if you keep performing at a high level, it's inevitable that you're gonna get a good result.
There was one, you get your time.
How do the waves differ from country to country? Is it just the height of the wave, the speed of the wave? How is it different country to country?
Yeah, I thought Cardi was going to talk about that because of the bottom of a wave, so on the XXL Awards to catch the biggest waves, it's it's kind of that mystery zone on a wave that you're never really...
Yeah, I think every wave...
judges.
You want about like the... There's certain places which attract bigger waves, like in certain spots, and it is to do a lot of it with the topography of the seabed. So like here in Portugal, Nazaré, and there's a few in Peniche that you have quite deep sea, or deep. The depth of the sea is quite deep, close to shore, so the power of the waves increased and the height, therefore. And it's the same with places in
Mavericks, Piahi.
Yeah, all the famous big wave spots. It's all to do with the depth of the sea. So for me, obviously from the UK, I spent a lot of time in Ireland, and there'd be two spots off the west coast of Ireland, which the waves are way, way bigger, and that's also to do with how deep it is. Just literally a few miles out to sea, how deep it is out there. You are. You probably think you can surf anyway, but yeah, I don't know. It's big wave surfing is not the most. It's not the most technical. It's more of a passion and it's that's more like for me. It's what I'm sort of looking for. It's just enjoying the ocean and in the most extreme, in its environment, I suppose, and. It's nice to test yourself, but it's also nice to just go home and surf my local beach break as well, So,
yeah, there's some. I think new waves are I learned in Galicia that are 10 years ago without the jet skis and without some of this new approach. You'd look at them, they break on top of rocks. They're just very difficult lines and to survive and they're being surfed, and you can get approaches and find new locations. And one of the things that I've found over the years is how many waves break around the world. It's amazing. There can be really crowded places, but then normally across the beach or just a bit further down, there's it might not be just as perfect every time, but there's normally some really good waves there, and that happens all across Europe, all across the world, in Hawaii. And some places are actually, that's where we always talk about secret spots and things like that, but they really are out there. And part of it is like making unridden waves. For me, Eric Riviere, a very good friend of ours, he lives in the north of Spain in Galicia. And for me, that was he was looking at waves and he was pointing at them. And he was saying, yeah, we might try to ride that one. And it looked, at that moment, it looked absolutely crazy. It looked completely impossible. It was just a big explosion on a rock. And then when you see with different tides and you start studying the waves and you start seeing how it's possible with the right approach, the right swell direction, to ride them, and that's a really exciting part of surfing, that kind of exploration part, and I think that there really are so many new frontiers, be it big waves, be it just fun normal waves too.
One more question here in the front, yeah.
Thank you. I saw your pictures in the swimming pool with the weights. I think it's for holding your breath and training that aspect. What's the biggest danger for you? Is it the impact and breaking all your bones, or is it the shortage of oxygen?
Yeah, that training was actually this Portuguese guy who he's the national coach for underwater hockey. I bet you didn't know that existed. Right, and so that's his sport. But basically, so that training is for a very important part of big wave surfing, which is the breath holding and all of that. And I mean, all of the, one thing is the accidents and one thing is, the deaths or the fatalities. The fatalities are drownings. The accidents are definitely impact, and we were talking about, at how fast we're going on a wave, and the impact really, your body goes through a lot. So I think, there are parallel things that you have to prepare for.
Yeah, thank you. That was the last one. Okay, one more we do.
Andrew's a master. I want to hear his answer.
Actually, I use like different platforms. So I use like Windguru, Magic Seaweed. Look at like 3 or 4, and then sort of use my local knowledge at that spot. So like and then I always go with what I sort of feel, because they're all just guessing as well, at the same time. And some of them vary, and some of them sometimes they all marry up, and they say same sort of stuff. Yeah. So Magic Seaweed, Windguru, the 2 good ones. Yeah, Surfline, another good one. And there's a couple of other ones, like the Windy app I use.
Yeah, I've got Windfinder. Yeah. Actually, it's an app. It was a pilot. So the local wind, if you're able to get readings from airports, are really good places to get wind readings, because they're very precise. So that was, for me, the Windfinder was a really good one.
Alex, what's the surf forecast for tomorrow?
He wakes up and looks at the surf.
Yeah. I don't need to. But it's going to be really good for the learning tomorrow, the lessons. Perfect. Yeah, really nice. Small waves, easy, no excuses. So. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. That was fun.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.